First thing, report and emerging threat actually for 2022, right? As compared to last year, which is on the internet, we do some of the research on the report and the risk is significantly reduced on the report. One of the report that definitely worth mentioning is actually the World Economic Forum, the Global Risk Report 2022. I realize is that in this year, among a lot of the report, it all refer back to the Global Risk Report 2022 by the World Economic Forum. These are a few of the concerns that I summarized, right? Majority of them actually in the report actually still will continue to concern about when will the COVID-19 end. I think this is also the hot question that all of us have on mind. And how often do we need to take the booster shot, right? I think some of the country actually going forwards that actually mandate every 9 months after the second shot, you need to take a booster shot. And all of us actually will have this question on mind that actually how often we need to continue on doing this. Is it means that in the future we're going to do this continuously for the next few years, right? So this is some of the hot questions. I think a lot of them have this on mind. Quite a number of the report actually show concern of political instability and global political conflict itself between countries, conflict between the US and China, and conflict between the Russia, Iran, and a few other countries that actually continue to be the top concern. So political conflict itself seems to be actually one of the top concerns in the 2022 report. The other category of the risk that actually a lot of them are worried about is the climate changes and the global warming. So what it means to the BCM industry? What it means to the BCM industry? I would like to actually to analyze in a few of the areas of what it means to the BCM industry in this prospect. First thing first is that business continuity. We can see that in the last 1 year, especially in the year of 2021, right, start reshaping itself for the market needs, right? So a very obvious question that I highlight, in fact, in the last year presentation as well, is that we have to start to consider, do you still need to the recovery side? Because before the pandemic, a lot of us do have a recovery side. Do you? So a lot of the management in 2021, in fact, start asking, do we still need to keep the recovery side since majority of you are working from home? A key question down here that we need to ask ourselves is that, are you ready to work from home for all crises that under your BCM program? I know that in the pandemic situation, we got no choice but actually to work from home. But are you ready to work from home for all different crises? While the rest of the crisis that you deal with might only affect your localized area, only your office or small area that's affected. While you're working from home, your colleague or your customer, your competitor, they actually are working from office. Would that be okay? Moving forwards, a lot of the BCM program will need to consider how to integrate the pandemic contingency plan to the pandemic plan, what you actually plan for this 2 years into your BCM program. Rather than leave it stand alone, you need to integrate these things together. And I can see that quite a lot of the initiative in the industry already start to doing that. And is your minimum operation requirement, MOR, sufficient? Right? After doing this for 2 years, you probably will realize that some of the MOR that previously you planned might be actually below. Supply chain, right? Supply chain, because of the climate and the political risk that what we're talking about earlier on, supply chain resiliency, it might be one of the area of concern that actually the business continuity need to reshape itself. The other aspect of the area that I start to see a lot is the regulatory and authority start to tighten the resiliency requirement. I will highlight a few of different naming conventions that actually different regulator might be using moving forward instead of just business continuity. But all in all, they are actually asking to fill up survey, compliance checklist, right? Validation exercise. They may actually conduct validation exercise to validate those subsidiary or the entity that under their care of to make sure they actually do able to recover, or industry exercise start to coming back as well. So this is something that we see the regulator and the authority start to actually to ensure that in their industry is having sufficient business continuity and robustness. And also that in the ISO standard, actually we adopt the term organization resilience. Right. There's some slight difference in terms of all the naming convention itself, but what I'm trying to say is that the resiliency from business continuity, operational resiliency to organization resiliency is probably some area that we need to settle down and with a different naming convention and with slight different focus itself going forward in 2022, and I believe this will even last all the way to 2023. Right. In this year, on the 2022, we expect that more business to resume, more business to resume. Is it medical more ready of it, because then they actually will be resume more activity, or it's actually financial reason? I think both. I think both is a work, but we definitely will expect more business to resume this year to for both reasons, and I expect the business actually start to manage and making business travel, and then you start to need to consider what's the medical coverage for your staff if they're infected in overseas, or actually while they actually on the business trip itself is having some medical requirement on the pandemic itself. Right? Do you allow your staff to come back to office after the business trip or after the holiday? Right, and some people say no, straight away no, right? They have to stay home to work for a week or so. But then after the 14-day holiday, then they start to work from home for another 7 days. What is the impact? So you need to probably consider that. So the business and the crisis management team, I think, will need to make critical decisions and prepare for this. And in the case that any of the outbreak and those things in the office, you might actually need to make certain decisions. So this is the part that I think to the business continuity industry, you need to prepare and ready to make such a decision in the case that it happens. Number one, my conclusion is that living with COVID, no zero COVID itself is possible, although I do aware that some of the country is still trying to actually achieve the zero COVID situation. But in my perspective, I feel that is not possible. Right? So, but we will still need to get vaccine and booster, wear masks and social distancing. It's likely to be going to be quite stay with us for quite a while. There's also the other conclusion that I like to draw down here is that while actually speaking to quite a few of the people over the last few months, right, I realized is that in the industry, a lot of them start to get confused about some of terminology, right? So I like to actually draw a quick summary on this. When we talk about disaster recovery, you always talk about IT perspective. So you should have a disaster recovery and not IT recovery. When we talk about business continuity, we always look at capability. Verify your capability, adopt it will happen mentality. That is probably my last advice that actually I will give, right? So we have to change the mentality that just in case it will happen. So in this case, then we will be able to deal with the organization resiliency and business continuity better, right?
If you wish to learn more about our services, visit www.bcpasia.com.